Hello everybody and welcome to the latest video for Drives of the Years. So as you know, this series is all about looking at great motor racing cars of the past, and today we're looking at something, well, it's actually an unbranded mod, but it's definitely from Kart 1999. Now the Kart Extreme mod is obviously very popular in this area, but there's hundreds of videos of that out there, so I'm sure that I might do something with that at some point. But for now we're looking at the Assetto Corsa, and we're looking at the Formula NA mod. The Formula NA is made by VRC modding team. It is a paid mod because obviously it's unbranded, so it's unbranded tyres, unbranded car. I'm using a skin pack which has been created by Chris somebody or other. It's on RaceDepartment anyway, but it's Chris somebody or other. And this is the Adrian Fernandez car from that year, and we're racing at Laguna Seca, which is obviously a track that was used at the time. It was quite a tragic weekend for Kart actually in 1999 at Laguna Seca. They lost Gonzalo Rodriguez. It wasn't a great year for Kart actually, because they also of course lost Greg Moore in that season, so a very tragic season. These cars are fantastic. They are wonderful to drive. I know it's always popular whenever there's a mod based on this era for whatever the sim may be. It is a popular mod, and of course one of the reasons for that is the sheer speed of the things. I mean, they weigh about 750 kilos. I'm just going to get out of the pits here. They weigh about 750 kilos, but they do a huge amount of speed. On the ovals you'll easily get up towards 400 kilometers an hour plus, which is amazing really. And you don't even travel those speeds in Formula 1 cars. Admittedly, Formula 1 cars don't race on ovals, but they're quite staggering, these. I'm just going to turn the sound down, make sure you're not drowned out there. So, wonderful cars these. As I say, Laguna Seca, it was a bit of a tragic weekend, but it's a great track. Everybody loves this track as I mess it up immediately. I have to say that's despite the fact that I have got a setup, because I did download a setup from YouTube, so thanks to Flying Finn for the setup that he posted online, which I'm using here. And yeah, VRC paid mod, but I think if you like this type of thing, if you like this type of car, it's probably worth it. I know that the Kart car is very popular. As I'm off again, I've got to get my braking distances right. We've got a car behind us here. Oof. So much power in these things, and you go to put the throttle down. It's you really do have to be gentle with it, especially if you're running without traction control, as I am here. You have to make sure that you feather the throttle out the corners. Don't just slam it down, because if you do, what will happen to me will happen to you. So we're doing a track day here, so the other guys out there are out there to set times. We've got AI out there, but it's not a race weekend. So yeah, Adrian Fernandez. It's interesting I'm driving the Adrian Fernandez car actually. 1999 was a very interesting year for Kart. Juan Pablo Montoya won the championship as a rookie, which is massively impressive, and of course attracted the attention of the BMW Williams F1 team for later as well. Here they would sign him up to drive a couple of years later in 2001. But he was the winner of that series, and Adrian Fernandez, the car that I'm driving, had a very interesting race at Laguna Seca, because he actually broke his wrist during the race, but still managed to go on to finish 5th that afternoon, which is quite incredible, isn't it, really, when you think about it. For some reason my CPU occupancy is high today, so I don't quite know why that is. Normally can drive this pretty well, but going to just have a quick look at that while we sort out the reasons for that. So we're loading back in here in a second, as you can see. So just trying to reduce the amount of CPU usage going on. But Laguna Seca, fascinating how popular this track is. It was built back in 1957, I believe. Just check from my notes that I've got that correct. Yes, 1957. And it has been such a popular track. I know a lot of people describe it as America's Spa-Francorchamps. Now, of course, a lot of that is to do with the corkscrew, because the length of the circuit, Laguna Seca, is actually very short, whereas Spa is very long. But the corkscrew, of course, is pretty much considered America's Eau Rouge, isn't it? It's another corner that is so well known. It's a very historic corner, and if ever tracks are defined by one corner, and there aren't too many of those around the world, you'd have to say Laguna Seca with the corkscrew, Spa-Francorchamps with Eau Rouge. I'm trying to think, Nürburgring Nordschleife with the carousel, maybe, although I think that track, to be honest, is one of those that is just you know, loved for the whole way round, really, isn't it, rather than just one corner. But certainly there are those famous corners. Corners don't very often become famous, so when you get them, you know that it must be either a very good track or a very good corner, or a corner that irritates a lot, I suppose. The Singapore Sling comes to mind, which is actually something that I was really disappointed they got rid of in Singapore, but there you go. Right, so we look like we might be a little bit better on CPU usage now, hopefully. Let's take this car out and hopefully we're going to have it a little bit better. Definitely, I mean, I'm using exactly the same settings as I've used for my previous videos, and I've already done a video in this sim, of course, with the Ferrari Dino, for those of you that watched that. And we're straight off again. These cars really do suffer with I'm just going to let Tony Kanaan past here. There we go. They do suffer with the not tyre blankets. When the tyre blankets aren't on, and Assetto Corsa does have that setting, and of course I don't believe tyre warmers were used in kart in 1999. If they were, let me know different, but I know they certainly aren't in IndyCar now. And so it's one of those things that it's very difficult. You've got to really be gentle with the car on the first couple of laps as you get the tyres up to temperature, because it will bite you if you overdo it. And that's looking a little bit better now. I do actually hinder myself with these videos, really, because I don't practice these cars before I get into them, which is a problem, really. I should probably give myself a little bit more practice to look more professional, but I don't know, I think it's quite amusing for everybody else if I spin out and crash a lot. Just hitting the rev limiter there, down into second gear for the first corner. Caught the slide this time. You're always looking for that apex, you're looking to get that turn in, and then, oh, that was nasty. Managed to keep it out of the tyre wall. Gubelman and De Ferran have gone past us there. We've got Montoya coming up behind us, and Fittipaldi and Papis as well, so we'll just let those guys come past before we come back on track. There we go. Get out there before. Some of these guys may be fictional, because I have got some fictional skins in the in my content manager in the save at the moment. I'll probably delete those at a later point, actually, because there are a lot of skins available for this car. So if you're looking for liveries, look on Race Department. There's plenty of them available for this particular car, as the Fittipaldi and Papis have had a coming together there. Car coming past us there. It's an interesting couple of days for Kunos fans, because Assetto Corsa, of course, it's just been announced, not deliberately by Kunos, I don't think, but nevertheless it was in their financial report for the future, that Assetto Corsa 2 will be coming. And the only things we know about it at the moment is that it's not going to be a sequel to ACC, it's a sequel to AC. Now what that means I'm not sure. It means probably that it won't be focused just on GTs, but hopefully for a lot of us it also means that we'll be getting some mods for that particular sim. That's the hope anyway, because you may have noticed a lot with new sims, as I can't even get these tyres up to temperature, they've got the blues on the front still. That you may have noticed with a lot of new sims that we don't have modability anymore, which is not great for modding groups like VRC and others who at the moment don't have any modern sims to work on because it's become a closed shop. And there's various reasons given for that. My personal opinion is, and people say, oh, it's because people won't buy the DLC. If you can't do with a dev group, full development team, better than a mod group does, then I would question whether your DLC is worth buying anyway. But there you go, that's just me. I'm not saying that mod groups aren't good, they are, but of course they don't have access, chances are they don't have access to all the technical information. Sometimes development teams actually get access to the cars themselves, they might get access to the engineers of the teams that actually designed them, so it should always be better than the mod. But it's just nice to have the ability to drive different places, to drive different cars, as we do of course in these video series. And we're off the track again there, getting a little bit smoother now, I'm not making quite as many mistakes. It's unbelievably fun to drive, is this car, and they've done it very well. I think it stands up very well personally with the Kart Extreme mod, and that's saying something because that's probably one of my favourite mods of all time, if not, I'm trying to think actually, it might be the favourite for me. And a lot of that of course is connected in the fact that any of you online sim racing guys will know we've spent so much time over the years actually racing that car in the SCART series, which is such a big part of OSR and has been for so long. But and of course what we hope is that the AMS2 modding advances a little bit. We have got mods in AMS2 now, they're apparently not that easy to make, but they do exist. And hopefully it becomes easy enough at some point for us to put stuff like this, or the Kart Extreme mod, into that new sim, although it is believed we will be getting some American stuff at some point. But given what Riser have currently said, we don't know what that American content will be. So keep your eyes, I suppose it's a case of watch this space over at Riser's website really. So we're looking at that car at the moment. Now it appears I've run out of fuel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the pit lane and we're going to try, I think, and have a fiddle with the tyre pressures, because we are not getting these tyres up to temperature at the moment. Now I've always been very easy on my tyres, and I do tend to need lower tyre pressures than some for that reason, so we're going to have to lower those down. We're on the softs as well. Imagine if I was running the hards. Okay, we're going to increase the fuel a bit because I want to go a little bit longer than that. How far am I off on the times? 4.5 seconds. Okay, that's not bad. I'll take that at the moment. So yeah, Laguna Seca was designed in 1957. It was actually cost $1.5 million. Would you imagine in 1957? That was an awful lot of money. So it was, yeah, a very expensive place. In actual fact, if you actually take $1 million from 1957 and convert that into modern day money, it would be about $9.5 billion. So, yeah, you can imagine the difference there. That's according to various inflation websites. Anyway, how accurate they are, I don't know, but that's what they say. They say it would be about $9.5 billion in today's money. And the money was raised from local businesses and also from members of the US Army who were from Fort Ord, which is nearby, I believe, and a lot of that was to do with, and a lot of the reason why Laguna Seca was built is, you may have heard of, and a lot of this information can be found on Wikipedia, by the way, you may have heard of Pebble Beach. Now, Pebble Beach, of course, in California is very famous for having its car shows. Really, if you've ever watched, for example, Chasing Classic Cars, which is a popular show in America, perhaps you've seen it in British television if you watch digital channels, and or if you have Amazon. They often go to Pebble Beach, these car shows, to show off classic cars, to sell, maybe auctions as well. And they used to have road races. And basically, the road races were deemed in the 1950s to be too dangerous. So in order to solve this problem, where were they going to race? If they couldn't race at Pebble Beach, they decided, right, what we're going to do is we're going to build a track. And the result was, let's face it, one of the most incredible tracks in the world. I mean, Laguna Seca has been so popular over the years. I've lost count of the amount of games, and I've made a right mess of that. Let's get out of the way. I've lost count of the amount of simulators that this circuit has appeared in, because it's so popular. It's kind of a go-to, isn't it? A lot of sims, if they want to get a track in a sim, they tend to go, Laguna Seca tends to be pretty high up the list. It tends to be pretty early on that they decide that that's what they're going to do. The only problem is a lot of people wonder, well, why hasn't it featured more regularly on IndyCar, on Formula One calendars? Well, the very simple reason for that actually is money. Laguna Seca doesn't have the largest budget when it comes to a lot of circuits, and of course in the real world, away from sim racing, budget is a problem. The more a track can raise in money, the more a track can afford to spend on its infrastructure and things like that, has an effect on the series it can attract to it. Fortunately, in sim racing we don't have to worry about such things, but it's great that it's back on the IndyCar calendar nowadays. Right, let's knuckle down and see what I can do. Just a little bit wide there, that's not going to count. We were over a second up there. Right, we'll give it another go. Really need to work on that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the camber out of the... So one of the things that you can do, if you're struggling with... You're probably a better driver than me, but if you're not, if you're struggling with the exit of corners with the car, then something that you can do, if I can find camber, here we go, alignment, is you can reduce the rear camber a little bit, although the rear camber is already pretty low. And it will just make it easier. Let this guy go. Make it easier to get the power down out of the corners. We're straight off again at turn 1. Can't make the exit on the pit lane, let alone anything else. Those tyres are so cold. let Juan Pablo through. Where is he? Being a little bit cautious there, I think. They are very cautious, the AI in this game on occasions. It depends, I probably need to turn the aggression up a little bit, but at least they don't crash into me this way. Right, so a lot of people do this weaving from side to side with warming tyres. I never bothered doing that, and the main reason I don't is because I don't think it actually has that much effect. The effect it has is minor. I just concentrate on getting a run through corners on my warm-up laps, on formation laps, and putting plenty of heat through the tyres that way. You can make sure that you give plenty of steering lock through corners as much as you can. And I just find that that warms the tyres up much better than weaving from side to side down straights. Right, we've got the tyres up to temperature now, that's good. Another lap in after this one. I think we're really starting to find our way with this now. It's moved us up to 10th. About 3 seconds off the pace now. Of course, the reason why Kart eventually failed was because, although it was an unbelievable series to watch and did of course conquer Europe to some extent, it was expensive, which was the major reason why the IRL split from it. They said it was too expensive and that it was unsustainable. I don't know, if they'd have cracked more European races, if they'd have cracked more races in other continents, maybe it could have continued to succeed, but it's hard to say. Once the IRL split had happened, I think it was always going to be doomed, wasn't it? America, I don't think was really in a position to support 2 open wheel series. And losing the Indy 500, of course, was a massive blow to kart. The US 500 though was a great event, and if you've ever, I've driven in sim racing versions a couple of times, and Michigan's a great circuit for that kind of event. But it was always competing, and that's the problem, you're diluting your audience. Very messy on these laps, I have to say. I have managed to get to the point where I've got the tyres up to temperature now, which is good, but if we look at the sectors at this present moment in time, I am 3.1 seconds away from Paul Tracy, who is the fastest with a 107.0. I'm up there with a lot of guys. It's okay, it's not bad, but you know, let's be honest, it's not great. So where am I losing out? Does it show? Where do I find the sector times in here? I don't think I can actually, can I? Ah, there we go. Right. Okay. So my best lap 26.5, 23.1, 20.5. If I go to Paul Tracy, 25.3, 22.0, 19.7. Okay, so we're losing one, and there's the comparison at the top. So we're losing 1.2 seconds in the first sector, 1.1 in the second sector, and 0.8 in sector 3. So it's fairly even across the lap, which just tells you that I'm slow, basically. Now I am told that the guy who actually made this setup, and he's got a video on the internet, did a 108.8 in it, which obviously is not fast enough to be the fastest in this session, but I'm 1.4 seconds off what he did in it, so well done to that man. Just going to toughen the suspension up at the front and rear. Don't want to lower the ride height too much, actually, thinking about it, because of course we do have that issue in we will have that issue in the corkscrew, which you will bottom out if you've got the car too low there. Just thinking actually whether I should see what else is in the suspension. I might adjust the anti-roll bars. I think there's a good chance that that might help. Just going to increase the front anti-roll bar a little bit, try and stop that sliding. Another thing I like about Assetto Corsa over Automobilista 2 at the moment, in Automobilista 2 it's got this very strange thing, and it's the only sim, well, I'm assuming Project Cars 2 is the same, but I haven't actually spent much time with that sim, but it's the only the one that I've seen do this. What they do is you have to put the speed limiter on when you're coming out, and if you forget to do it, you speed in the pit lane. Now, every sim that I've ever known, the speed limiter, the pit limiter, is automatically on, and then you turn it off when you get to the end of the pit lane. Apart from obviously when you're pitting during a race, and then you have to put it on yourself. But in Automobilista 2 at the moment, you have to put it on the way out of the pits every time, and if you forget, you get a penalty for the grid in the race. I mean, to be honest, eventually you get used to that and you very rarely forget, but it is a little annoying considering that no other sim does that, and we can't blame Riser for that, we can only blame Slightly Mad Studios. But yeah, it's a strange one, that. With Assetto Corsa, it's actually an automatic limiter, so it just turns off when you get to the end of the pit lane, which I quite like that, actually. Nobody wants to lose on a sim race because they forgot to put the pit speed limiter on. I mean, fair enough if you don't brake in time for the pit lane, but... Whoa! Cut the inside of that far too much. Right, okay. Let's not overdo the tyres here. Another thing about Assetto Corsa, if you're doing any online races on it and you spin out, do not, whatever you do a burnout turn to get facing the right way again. Yes, it will be quicker, but you will destroy your tyres. In fact, I know a couple of guys who've ended up getting punctures from doing exactly that. So think very carefully about the way that you rejoin if you spin out. I'm going to try and actually complete a lap without making a mistake now. best. A bit up then, but made a mistake. Got a car all over the back of us now. And we're wide, we'll let him through. Still got some dirt on the front right, as you can see from the tyre display at the bottom right. There's something I really like about Assetto Corsa, that actually you can see all that kind of stuff. And it does make a difference until your tyres clean up. It does make a difference in the grip. The tyre model isn't superb in Assetto Corsa. It's fairly basic, a lot of it, but that element of it's great. Of course, we have to remember it's quite an old sim now. I mean, it came out in 2014, so we're talking 7 years. It's obviously going to have fallen behind a little bit on some of the technology. Be interesting to see what Kunos do with the second one and how much that improves. Will it set a new benchmark for sims? Time will tell. A fairly average last lap there. Probably cleaning the tyres didn't help. Let's put another lap in and see if we can really get closer to that time now. Not like that, we won't. Okay. Oh, went into replay there. Back to pits. We can see there now we are 2.2 seconds off. 109.2. And for some reason I've got an Italian flag next to my name. I'm not sure on that, but anyway, might just be the default for Assetto Corsa, I'm not sure, with it being an Italian game, of course. So yeah, that is the kart car. So if you want to have a look at the Formula NA 1999, it comes in a triple pack. So it is on the VRC modding website. And the easier way to find that is just type VRC modding into Google. You'll find vrcmoddingteam.net. It's got a couple of dashes in it as well, so don't just put vrcmoddingteam.net into Google. I'll put a little link probably underneath this video just to show where it came from. There are quite a few free mods on there as well, so have a look at all of those. They've got some really interesting free mods actually from various points across the years. They've also got a couple of tracks that you can download, and those are the Alabama racing course, which as far as I know is similar to, is it Barber Motorsport Park, which may have changed name now. Barber Motorsport Park might be the old name, but that's one of the things that can be found on there. And South Star Motor Speedway, which is similar to the Texas Motor Speedway, and that is there as well. But the Formula NA, yes, it comes in a triple pack, so you can buy it with the 2018 and 2012 versions, and they have now released a 2021 version as well, but that doesn't come in the triple pack as far as I understand it. You have to buy that separately. The Formula NA package was released before the 2021 pack. There's also a prototype series package on there, so that's worth a look as well. So have a look at those cars and circuits. Some of them, as I say, some of the cars are free, so certainly look at those ones and get those downloaded. They also have mods for Project Cars 2 and R Factor 2. so keep an eye out for anything on there that might interest you. For the meantime, this has been the latest video from the Drives of the Years series. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel. Please make comments in the video section, as long as you keep them clean. We are making this a family-friendly YouTube channel. That means that we don't want abusive and messages. As much as you may want to hurl abuse at me, please don't, for the benefit of the younger viewers watching these videos. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and if not, why are you still watching?